Welcome to the Outdoors with Charlie Ruth show, presented by WXIX, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Make the move that makes the difference. Move up to WXIX.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another WXIX Outdoor Show. My name is Fruit Acres Marble, and I am the International Beagle Field Trial Champion. You will notice a little resemblance between Charlie and myself, except his ears stand straight out and mine droop a little. This evening, my master will tell you something about how to train and take care of a fine dog like I am. I tried to find a groundhog this morning, but had no luck. However, the weather forecast is as follows. Present temperature 16, low tonight 3 to 8 above, high tomorrow 15, with light snow flurries tonight and tomorrow. Please be patient. Charlie and I will be back in 1 minute.
Enjoy the difference. Move up to WXIX. Make the move that makes the difference. Move up to WXIX. 3 more WXIX, Al.
And if I tried to grow crabgrass, Marion Blue would crowd it out. Ed, concrete your backyard and paint it green. Then you can relax and enjoy life. That's what makes it a great beer. It's consistent. I mean, it's always delicate with a kiss of the hops, like they say on TV.
She holds the road real good. I don't know why, but I just enjoy driving a better car. Maybe it's name, reputation.
Let WXIX be part of your life, too. Ah, what a difference. Only WXIX has that deep, cool kiss of the hops flavor. Make the move that makes the difference. Move up to WXIX.
Man's best friend. We were to have had a movie tonight on fishing in Quebec. However, the film did not arrive, but we will travel to Florida for some fishing and then to Nova Scotia for some partridge and grouse hunting. And that we will see right now.
I couldn't wait to make my first cast. And before Sam had his rod in his hand, I felt the smash of a vicious strike. At first, I didn't know what it was. He was a hard and rugged fighter, and he preferred the depths. It was minutes before I finally dragged him up into view. All the time, he was fighting the pull of that rod grimly. Even when he surfaced, he wouldn't give up. And it was a big, tough assignment for that light rod, line, and reel to finally make him change his mind. Up until the time we netted the rascal, it was touch and go as to just who would win that battle. He was heavy, over 10 pounds. And a grand specimen of redfish, a fine ocean fish favored by many anglers. In high glee, I swung him around to show to Sally, but she preferred to admire him from a distance. However, all fishermen know what a thrill it is to finally master such a gamey fighter. He would have made a perfect feast, too, but since we were out for fun, we returned him unharmed to his watery lair. It was a good beginning, and although both of us were more than anxious to tie into more of the same, well, as luck would have it, and fishermen know, the rest of the day we failed to connect. Well, another day beckoned, and maybe Lady Luck would change her mind and treat us kindly. Anyway, we were treated to a vivid and memorable sight as a flock of seabirds circled against the setting sun. Next morning, while Sally stayed behind to sun and swim, we tried our luck in a new section for another fish. Here we were in Mud Lake, a very unlikely name for a famous tarpon hangout. Sam was hoping to break his luck, and he did, with a vengeance. He hit. He's hooked. He's in the air. He lost him. But while Sam had held him, fought him, and battled him for a full 19 minutes to the clock, those hooks had held. But that one last mighty surge had won the battle for the tarpon. Here again were the Everglades, the sea of grass. Our sturdy craft pushed its way through age-old masses of weeds, lily pads, and tangled, rotting beds of hyacinth. For ages past, nature had built this eerie, mysterious sea of weeds and water. Within its boundless limits, the Seminoles had made good their boast, never to be conquered. No man yet knows the hidden recesses of this tremendous and forbidding expanse. It's one of the nation's most famous natural wonderlands. This is the place, if any, on the face of the earth where man is at the mercy of nature. One false turn and you may never be seen again. Hardly a week goes by, but what some place, somewhere in this tremendous wilderness called the Everglades, one man or a party disappears. Then the search begins, and every machine devised by man to conquer this area goes into effect and action. Airboats and airplanes, swamp buggies, and half-tracks. Well, this looked like one of the spots on the map we had marked the night before. So we dropped anchor and started to fish. Mid-morning, a patrol plane zoomed over. When it saw we were okay, it just dipped its wings and went on its way. The bass were moody. They just weren't hungry, but we kept casting. Then, a hit. And I missed him, but oddly enough, Sam connected at the same time. No doubt about it, this was one of those famous Okeechobee monster bass. As that big bass tired, he dove for the weeds, a favorite tactic which often upsets the hopes of eager anglers. But Sam handled him carefully and kept him free of the heavier tangles and moved him steadily toward the net. Reaching as far as safety allowed, at last he became our prize. Well, not a royal champion by a long shot, but big enough to satisfy a pair of avid fishermen. Our first Florida largemouth, and it sure thrilled us to the nth degree. When it came my turn to handle that first specimen, I had no doubt there were more to come, and so there were. I proved a good prophet, and this first encounter with these mighty Okeechobee bass raised the curtain on some bass fishing Sam and I will long remember as the highlight of our wonderful Everglades tour.
Isn't it a great feeling to get a bonus? Even though most of us don't get one too often. But here's how you can get a bonus every day. I mean the flavor bonus you get in Schlitz beer, with that deep, cool kiss of the hops flavor. The extra you get only in Schlitz. And now you can enjoy the same flavor bonus in Schlitz in this new 6-pack of handy compact economy bottles, made to order to fit on any refrigerator shelf. And oh boy, no deposits, no empties to return. So fill your glass with that deep, cool kiss of the hops flavor that's waiting for you in Schlitz beer. Enjoy the difference. Pick up a 6-pack of handy compact economy bottles today. Make the move that makes a difference. Move up to Schlitz, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go to Nova Scotia for some woodcock and grouse hunting.
Every man deserves the thrill of days afield with a good dog. The sound of swift wings, the feel of autumn in the air, the scent of campfire smoke. So let's go along now with two of America's best-known outdoorsmen, Dave Newell and Gail Borton.
Who can forget Nova Scotia? What a beautiful October countryside.
Perfect bird cover. This country around Braemar near Yarmouth is just the tops. Cold, clear rivers, sparkling blue lakes, alder and birch thickets, woodcock headquarters.
The cover is fairly thick, and as is the general custom up here, we are using a bell on our center bob so that we can keep track of it. Whoa, Bob. Bird. Fetch him, Bob. That's the boy. Fetch him here. The old timber doodle is a great game bird in my book, and this southern tip of Nova Scotia is the jumping off place for the migration across to New England.
Most of the birds in the province funnel down to the Yarmouth area with its perfect natural habitat of boggy lake and river shores.
In northern woodcock shooting, everything depends on weather. An early cold snap that freezes the ground so they can't bore for worms will put the birds out in a hurry.
But this time conditions were perfect, and there were plenty of birds.
There were a lot of wild apple trees in that section, and everybody knows how much an old grouse likes the apples and leaf buds. Our guide, Findlay, said we'd find them here, and old Bob went right to work. I'd gotten to love the sound of that bell, particularly when it stopped suddenly. Whoop. Nary a feather. Hey, what goes on here? No bird, Bob. Go on, boy. Steady, Bob. Now, a man can be excused for being a little bit proud and puffed up when he's lucky enough to catch two rough grouse in a good opening and get both of them. Even old Bob acts excited, and I could almost swear he mumbled an apology for that dirty look he gave me a while ago. I always believed the dogs could talk anyhow, if a man could just understand. Fetch him, Bob. Fetch him, boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Leslie Charbotet of the Fruit Acres Kennels, Beagle Kennels in Waukesha. And this dog, as you know, is the international field trial champion. We had several of our listeners, in particular one group of listeners, Arthur Balat, Jerry Skabinski, James Balat, and Bob Balat on South 12th Street, asked us to put something on about Beagle dogs. And so we were very fortunate to have Leslie come over here this evening and answer some of the questions that these folks have wanted answered. And Les, it's quite a privilege for us to have you in the international championship here. And you told me a minute ago that you had turned down $2,500 for this dog when he was 3 years old, and now he's 10. You told me.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And your vocation, you do train beagle hounds for people.
Well, just a hobby.
It's a hobby, but it's gotten to be a business almost. Is that it?
No, it's still a hobby.
Well, we have the first question that these folks would like to know. Would the breeding period or period of heat drastically change the performance of the dog in the field?
Well, it will some dogs, particularly females, but it would have, of course, have no effect on males.
Mm-hmm. Would that better the dog, or in hunting, or would it decrease?
With a period of being in heat, they won't hunt.
Mm-hmm. In other words, it works in reverse for them. Under what conditions does a beagle hunt best? Extra dry, damp, or wet ground, or in snow?
Well, ordinarily, they would do best when the ground is damp.
Mm-hmm.
Because any dog can scent better.
It holds better, that's it.
Right.
After a dog's first litter of pups, does her performance improve or decrease in the field?
Well, ordinarily, a young female has a tendency to be a little skittish and wild. A little pups will settle her down a little.
If a beagle leaves the vicinity in which it lost a rabbit too quickly, does this show lack of the desire to hunt?
Not necessarily. Sometimes they have too much desire. They don't want to stay very long in one spot, but they can't find a rabbit right away. They're looking for another one.
Another track.
And some of it is lack of training and the impatience on their master as soon as they lose to leave right away.
If a beagle kept outside in a kennel persists on baying at all hours, how would you suggest discouraging this habit?
Well, ordinarily, a water method is best. And if that isn't successful, why a little switch will serve the purpose very well. But if you do use water, not a cupful, you should take a half a pail or so of real cold water, so that the shock of the cold water is what really accomplishes the switch of clightening.
Our beagle, if hunted 2 days in succession, will not work as hard the second day as it did the first. What causes this?
Well, ordinarily, that's lack of conditioning. If a dog isn't conditioned for it, too many hunters wait until hunting season to take their dog out. They don't take them out before hunting season to harden them up. And that's mostly lack of conditioning.
How old would you say a beagle should be when you start training it for hunting?
Well, there ain't no set age, but I like to start about 6 months.
6 months. Would you suggest a change in the amount fed to a beagle during the seasons in which it is hunted?
Well, during any time any dog is hunted hard, he should have a little more meat than you ordinarily would give him during the rest of the season.
Do you mean cooked meat, raw meat, or raw meat?
Raw meat.
Should be raw meat. In other words, it's
preferably raw meat. Even cooked meat would help.
But raw meat is better.
That's right. The dog is working hard.
Two good T-bone steaks.
Yeah.
Is it advisable, at least this is one question, is it advisable, since we own 2 dogs, to hunt them together? They are both females, but one ranges farther than the other. What they want to know is it better to hunt them separately in groups or...
No, it's better to hunt them together.
It is.
And that man should be very fortunate. One dog would pick up the rabbits close to him, and the other ones would pick them up a little ways off.
Greater distance.
We'd cover a lot of territory that way.
How far would you say a beagle should range from the gunner?
Well, it should be within calling distance.
Well, that just about takes care of all of our questions, and we hope that the folks who are interested in the beagles, they sure received some expert advice from Mr. Charpentier, and he's proved that he can take care of the dogs by having an international champion, and it's been a great pleasure for us to have you here, and we're very thankful that we could do something for our viewers. And we mentioned before, if anyone has something that they would like to know about or see on this show, well, you just write into us, and we'll be glad to do our best to put it on the air so that you can see it. And right now we'll leave, and we'll be back in a minute.
Make the move that makes the difference. Move up to Schlitz. Enjoy the difference. Move up to Schlitz.
Didn't take it out of the oven fast enough. Oh, good. Serve, Louise. All right. But I'll never make a better serve than you just made. 1512.
Schlitz, naturally, and believe me, I've tried them all. Speaking of quality, George, give a look at the bar. Just finished it today. Mahogany. Finest there is. Say, when do you find time to play golf?
Perfect. I'm so glad we moved. Shade trees all over and a beautiful patio.
Sounds cool.
Make Schlitz part of your life, too. It's the only beer with that deep, cool kiss of the hops flavor. Ah, what a difference. Make the move that makes the difference. Move up to Schlitz.
Well, here's our letter from the governor. This week, Charlie, I'd like to kill a couple of birds with one report. First, let's take the opening dates for the trout and the walleye seasons. As you know, these dates are established by the Conservation Commission and not by the governor's office. In 1961, both dates have been set to fall on Mondays. This seems unfair to me, especially since so many sportsmen have regular jobs and can only get away for weekends. I therefore wrote the Conservation Commission suggesting that the opening dates be switched to Saturdays. My proposals haven't had much luck with the Conservation Commission in the past, but I understand that they are considering this one seriously. Second, I want to comment on motor trolling. Since I've received a lot of mail on this subject, it seems that motor trolling is allowed in Minnesota, and some of the resort owners across the border in northwestern Wisconsin are afraid they'll lose customers unless motor trolling is permitted in Wisconsin. As a sportsman myself, I don't see much fun in the practice. I'll stick to casting. If the people in one area or another believe they need motor trolling to meet competition, that's all right with me. But I'm absolutely opposed to motor trolling in any area where the local residents and the sportsmen don't want it. That's all for today. Have more next week. And now next week, ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Carpenter will be here with a movie on fishing in Peru. It's a grand film, and it's a real great film. And don't forget the Alaskan trip we're going to take in July. We received quite a few cards and letters this week, folks who are interested in it. And if you are interested, drop me a line. Schlitz Outdoors, WXIX, Schrader Hotel. We'll get you the information. If you'd like to go, we can make room. Thank you, and good evening. See you next week.
Join us again next Thursday at this same time for another Outdoors with Charlie Ruth show presented by the Joseph Schlitz Brewing Company of Milwaukee.